when you and I met, you've made the bold statement that customizations shouldn't happen. For the CFO or IT director listening, who just inherited a system with hundreds of customizations, what's the core problem you're seeing?
So it actually falls a little bit further into customization shouldn't happen inside of the ERP system itself. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of facilities now to be able to do logic customizations, things of that variety outside of finance and operations or finance and supply chain management, which is where a majority of my career has been spent with AX and supply chain management. But the reality is the more customizations you make within the application itself, especially complex logic customizations, things of that variety, you run into problems where you end up slowing down the system, where you end up customizing yourself into a corner that you're unable to upgrade the system, which means you're completely rebuilding the system every 7 to 10 years when you go through. In more recent times, when we've moved into the cloud with the system, a lot of the reasons why people have had to upgrade and move into new systems have gone away. Previously, it was either the system that you were using went out of service, such as GP is doing right now. We have an end-of-life announcement on GP, and even versions went out of service. Capabilities were put into the system, newer versions that perhaps you needed or wanted to be able to use. Yeah. So you would move to that new system, or you customized yourself to a point where you were unable to absorb your new business processes. You know, the first two really have kind of gone away because you're getting cloud updates all the time. You don't really get a new system per se, and you get access to all the new features that are available within those systems. So you don't need to worry about those things. One thing I forgot to mention is possibly your supplier just disappears. They get out of the business. Maybe they're acquired by somebody else, such as PeopleSoft being purchased by Oracle, things of that variety. Maybe you don't want to be under Oracle's umbrella, and therefore your choice is to move away from PeopleSoft. It's not going to be there anymore. I don't think anybody believes that Microsoft is going anywhere at this point. It's a pretty solid company, to say the very least, and so that also is taken away as a possibility. The application, the company going away. So really, if you have to completely revamp and re-implement your entire ERP system at a very substantial cost, you've probably done it to yourself at some point and customized yourself to the point where that is going to be a problem.
Yeah. When you say customizations shouldn't happen, are you talking about all customizations, or is there a line between necessary business logic and problematic modifications?
There's a couple of different lines that sit out there. One of them is tied to, again, changing the way at the base level that the system works. That's a significantly problematic customization. There's layering business logic on top of things that get done. What I mean by that is perhaps you need some additional checks in the middle of a process, or you need to break a particular transaction down into multiple transactions, things of that variety. Those types of things I personally, especially at this point with the way that Dataverse has been integrated into the system, would do that work within Dataverse and bring it back into the system after it's done. So again, you're protecting the transactional integrity of the system as it's made out of the box. And then you've got other ones where you're adding a piece of data where, maybe you're changing the order that data goes in, things of that variety. Those are innocuous changes, and I really don't feel they're problematic where it comes from. Your real problem starts to become when you're layering them on top of each other and you continue to get further and further away from the baseline. It becomes a real challenge. So you have to balance it. I'm not saying you don't do customizations. It's a matter of doing them in the right place, doing them in the right way, and protecting that integrity of the system as it's built, because that way as new features and new logic comes out from Microsoft, you have the capability of incorporating that because you haven't changed the way that base system is working. And then maybe you have to change your logic or where you what point you grab that information and make your changes, but you're not blowing up the entire system to try and figure out how to integrate that into the process.